Yes, here we go. And welcome. Thank you very much for joining me. And today we have a very, very exciting project. So I've just found this. So I thought, why not do this one? And this one is going to be different from the others because this particular model, as you can see, is looks like a games asset. And you can tell that because it's, first of all, the quality is perfect. And or is it? Maybe it isn't. Anyway, it's a really good model. So, the purpose of this is to do... Actually, let's have a look at the interior. They wouldn't have done an... Oh, I don't know now. Anyway, the purpose of this is to do something slightly different from the others. The others are all low poly, and they're easier to do than this one. So we're going to do we're going to use a couple of little tricks here to simplify the surfaces. So yeah, let's get cracking. So what I've done, I've just bought it in, and I got this one from Sketchfab, and I've noticed that the dimensions are so much bigger than a 2 meter box. So what I've done, I've Googled the dimensions of this car, and they're still quite big actually. It's over 2 meters wide. So this box here is the dimensions that the car should be. So if we move the cursor, the origin, of the box to the bottom of the box, move the box up, and then let's select the model of the car, and then let's scale it down until it's inside the box. So hopefully when I scale it down, it will be exactly the same width, length and height, which it is not. So we don't want to skew with it. So let's say, I mean, it's already quite wide. So should we go with the width? So it's going to be shorter than advertised. Actually, I'm starting to wonder if this was a games asset. Anyway, either way, it's a good example to use because it's heavy. Okay, so let's go with the width. We'll say that the width is correct. Okay, so let's get rid of that cube. Second thing I've noticed is that it's not facing the right direction. So this is back and this is right. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the cursor to world origin. We're going to select the select tool, and then we're going to rotate Z -90. And now that's the back is facing the back. Then we're going to just check that x0 is at 0. So if we go to global up here, so x, it's 10th, 100th, 10,000th off. So I'm going to say that's some sort of translation error. And then what we're going to do is we're going to just move it so that the front axle is at y0. So first of all, I'm just going to tries to quads this. That seems to have done a nice job straight off. So we're going to use that. Then we're going to put the cursor to selected, which is there. Then we're going to select all. We're going to clear the parents because we already had an empty there. Then we're going to select that the component. In this case, it was the tire. Then we're going to select all. Then we're going to parent everything to that tire and select it. Then we're going to move the Y so that it's at 0. We're going to select all again. We're going to unparent that. We're going to just get rid of all the empties, I think, as well. So if we just go into this box here, select everything but empties, and we select all the empties in here, make sure that they're not parented to anything or nothing's parented to them. And we can delete. I'll bring everything back up again in the outliner. And then let's have a quick look at the shading again. I think we're happy with that. Yeah, I think we just leave it as it is for now. So reference, duplicate, and then let's call this one C9 FL, fully leaded. Then let's shade this up in view, what's this called? Solid. Right, so let's start by chopping out the middle bit. So select something, then select all, go to edit mode, make sure nothing's hidden. And then let's select a big chunk from the middle, and then let's delete. Let's select everything from the back, separate, then let's select all of that. So we have something that's in a group which goes across from the front to the back. However, we won't be needing this stuff anyway, so we can actually delete that. Let's bring everything back up again. Let's move that to a new collection. Call this one rear. Okay, rear. Let's move that collection up. And we're going to do the same thing with the rear as we did with the front. So make sure it's not parented, which is not. Select all, just unparent, just to make sure. Then we're going to do, we're going to, select all. Then we're going to tries to quad that. Then we're going to select that edge loop. We're going to put the cursor to selected. Then we're going to put the origin to the cursor, which is there. Then we're going to, with that being the last thing selected, select all, and then parent. And now if we go into this collection, select it there, and then we move the Y so that it's 0. So there we go, there's our front and there's our back. We can see straight away that there's quite a big difference in Y, in X, so the width. It's much wider, the back is much wider. Let's have a quick look. Okay, so what we're going to do here, so to make life easier, we're going to either narrow the back or widen the front. And I would say you always widen, just because it looks better. Wide equals good. Everyone knows that. So let's put the cursor to world origin, which is there. Then actually so we want to be able to match the half, sort of the Y0, which is there from front to back. So what we can do here, we can start by chopping this up, but this is way too heavy to start working with just yet. So what we're going to do is I'm going to delete half, select those, delete, select those, delete, select those and delete. So first of all, we're going to tries to quads these. Actually, before we even do that, let's select all and merge by distance. And it's merge 749 vertices at a merge distance of 0.1. So that's a good start. Actually, while we're here, let's just quickly check on normals, which are good, very good. So now let's do tries to quads. Actually, before we do that, let's go into face mode. Face mode, yeah, face mode. So it's easy to see. Then we go tries to quads. And now, actually that's done quite a good job off the cuff. But with Blender 4.4, I believe this came out, you have a additional ability here to, you have some sliders here basically to navigate how the triangles are made to quads. So by default, it does it like this. So you have stuff like this, which is a bit of a nuisance. So if you move the topology influence over to the right, it should fix some stuff. However, be careful because sometimes it will mess up other stuff. So if I go back, actually no, in this occasion, it's done as a solid. So if we keep going. Oh, okay, so there's a sweet spot there. So if we go back a touch, there, 1.5. Let's go with 1.5. Okay, that's good. Okay, next thing we're going to do is we're going to decimate this because it's still too heavy. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to our modifiers and go to generate, modifiers, generate, decimate, go to unsubdivide, iterations 1, 2, let's try 4. Yeah, let's go with 4. We got a bit of a mess going on, but it's a good start. Okay, so let's apply that. And now we can trim down the Y0. So let's go to bisect, straight down, change these all to 0, change these all to 0, and then keep Y at 1, and it will do a perfectly straight line down the middle. Okay, let's add a mirror modifier to that. Let's put it on Y. Let's turn clipping on. And so the origin of this, no, what's the problem here? What's going on? What's going on? Actually, let's turn on the rest of the model. Let's put cursor to origin. Cursor to world origin. And then let's make sure it's not parented. Let's move the origin to 3D cursor. So it's going to move the origin of everything to the cursor, which is there, which is at world coordinates, or world origin. So now, if we go back to the mirror, actually, hold on. So if we look here in the transform box, we can see that this has been rotated minus 90 degrees about X and minus 90 about Z. So again, it's probably everything actually, because we rotated it, didn't we? So if we select all, hold down Alt, we can change it in here, or actually, what am I on about? If we just go here, so now if we change that to X, it mirrors it over, right? So that's ready to be matched up to the rear. While we're here, we know we won't be needing this stuff. So let's isolate. Let's go into edit mode, delete those things, unhide, and then let's go to rear. Let's go to rear, and let's do the same thing with this. So, wow, this is very heavy. Select those, delete those, delete, delete those. So I have rushed out a little bit, which is hence there's a couple left, vertices left over there. All good though. Right, so let's select this. Select these. Yep. Let's separate them. Isolate them. Select all. Merge by distance. Very good. Okay. Now we're going to go into face mode. Would be nice not to see the centers of those. And you do that by going to, not there, where is it? Is it in here somewhere? Origin, nope. Somewhere. Oh, how do you turn those off? Is it maybe in some sort of object properties, visibility? No, it won't be in there. It will be in, where is it? Come on. Oh, I'm gonna have to give up, so as not to waste any more time looking for it. That's quite annoying. Anyway, would have been nice to get rid of these little dots, but anyway, so select all, tries to quads, and so if we use the same settings as we did on the front, we have quite a good tries to quads calculation. So I think we'll go with that. All right, let's go to the modifiers. Let's go to decimate, unsubdivide, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's good. Apply. select all, bisect, straight down, turn these to 0, these to 0, 1 on there, clear outer. So we're just left with the back of that cut. We need to do this stuff as well. So are we parent? So we're parented still. So select all, clear parenting, make sure that the cursor is at world origin, select all, move origin to 3D cursor. Now we can mirror this over, make sure that clipping is on, and we mirror about Y. Oh, hold on, so it hasn't done this. Oh, I've not done that actually, sorry. So select all, and then apply all transforms, and then change this to X. Right, and we're ready to go. So these have been cut on the X plane. So now, if we make sure that we're going to be pivoting around the 3D cursor, which is at world origin, if we double click on C9 FL and we do S, X, we can move the whole of the front and match it up so that they match up there. So zoom in a little bit, scale X a little bit further, and then let's see how the front looks. Does it look? So if we compare it to the reference, it's definitely wider, obviously. Okay, that's good. That's good. I think that would be fine. Right, so let's have a look, shall we? Let's delete some of the stuff that we don't need. Actually, first of all, let's put the wheels on their own layers. So let's call this one front wheel, and let's call this one rear wheel. Let's turn those off for now. Right, so start with front wheel. Select that stuff, hide it. Select the front, select one wheel, move it to front wheel, select this wheel, move it to front wheel. And now if we select all, we'll notice that it's, even though there's nothing there, it's still picking up 44 objects. So we can delete those. And then let's have a little clean up here. So we won't need that. We'll need this. We'll need the front of that object, but not the back. Let's delete this. Let's delete this. Delete this. Right, so if we hide that, hide, what's this? We can delete this. And what's this? Where does that start? So that starts there. Let's have a look. What's going on with the reference model? Reference? Oh, it's there. Okay. Let's delete that. Delete. Let me see. Let's delete these bits here. And what's that? Is that part of the diffuser or something? Okay, let's delete these bits and these bits, and then it's okay. Wow, there's a lot of stuff going on here. Okay, oh, actually, hold on. So we can delete these bits because they're on the front. So delete this stuff. Oops, delete this. So I'm just picking a view where there's nothing behind it, so I can just select it and delete it. All right, let's delete these. Delete that part of the group. Delete this stuff and this stuff, and oops, not that. Delete that. Delete these. What are these here? Let's delete those. Oops, let's delete those. And let's do the wheels. So select the back. So select one wheel, move it to rear wheel, move it to rear wheel, and then select all. So there's nothing left here. That's good. Okay. Okay, right. So let's have a look. So that's the front wheel. So the wheels are the same but different widths. And the disc brake is on the other side. So which one do we keep? So obviously in terms of width, we want the wider one. But actually that the disc brake, brake disc looks a little bit better on the narrower one actually. So we'll probably keep that one. Or does it? Yeah, we'll keep the other one, not this one. So let's delete front wheel. Okay. There we go. That's the start. So all we got to do now is merge this with this, and we can all go home and have some tea. Right, so how are we going to do this? Okay, so so I've made it quite messy now. So I wonder if we're better off just rebuilding it all. I think we're probably better off just rebuilding this. So what I'll do is I'm going to merge these or join them, put them into a new collection. And we put it at the top. And then let's have a look. So let's put the... So I want to be able to quickly go from one to the other. So I want to be able to see the front and the back in one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the rear collection into the front. And I may as well put the wheels in there as well. Okay. So I can just quickly turn that on and off. And then in a new collection, or should I just work? Yeah, no, I'd work directly in this collection. So, no, do I want to work in a new collection? What's the advantage? So if I have a new collection, then I can isolate. Let's start a new collection. Right. So in here, so I've got a new collection here. So I'm going to be rebuilding this in a new collection. So let's start by building a plane or anything really. Merge it at the center, move it to the front, and we're just gonna trace this outline. I mean, it's a relatively basic shape really, so it shouldn't be too difficult. So let's move that up. And let's start tracing. Let's start Tracy Chapman. Okay, all right, so we're going to start with nice big moves. Okay, and then at this point we can do mirror modifier and a subdivision modifier, and we may as well chuck do we want a bevel modifier on there, or do we use crease? Let's start with this. So with the subdivision modifier on, you can see how it's changed our shape. So we'll probably have, what I'll do here actually is, okay, let's start with that. Okay, so let's move this up. So we're building so that it's as simple as possible, and then we'll add more detail as we move on. So we need, oh, and we also need to sort of make it up as we go along as well. So let's align these, scale Y0, and these two scale Y0, and nudge these up. Let's go up, and let's turn off the grid. And let's move these. So we're just trying to leave them collinear at the moment. So let's move these down a little bit, and then let's move these along. So we don't need to worry about that peak because we can just add a row of edges in there. Let's move these down, and then let's rotate these down like this. Okay, so that's not a straight line, that's interesting. Okay, let's put a crease on these edges, and of course mark them sharp so that they actually remain sharp. Okay, and then let's go, so that should actually be a lot higher at this point. And then this point, let's have a look at the reference. All right, so there's a break in there, but there isn't one at the back. Actually, the more I look at this, the more I think this was not from a game. Still a good model though, tricked me, fooled me. Right, so let's go shade smooth. Shade smooth, and then let's do this wheel arch, shall we? So nice straight plane, or just a plane, because we're going to need another edge loop there. Let's move these down, move these, oops, that's the wrong one. Move these along. So we're going to need another edge loop there, and we're going to need one there as well. Continue this crease. And that crease, okay, and then what we're going to do here is we need more geometry here as well, so we're going to just break this up as well. Might add two in there actually. Actually, let's start with two, and then let's add one at the back for the wheel arch. Okay, so let's distribute these a bit better as well actually. So this one's going to be a little bit closer to the front, and then these will distribute evenly. So select these and distribute evenly, and then go from that one to that one. And then let's do this. Okay, for the arches, we can probably move these down a touch. I think what we'll do as well, rather than having a break, we'll just have a sort of a sharp. Okay, what do we do? I have a sharp line there that goes somewhere. Right, I think we have to just wing it. Wing it. Okay, so okay, let's do the Y0. The Y0 will be something like this. So let's make the tallest point around here somewhere, which is by somewhere here. By that I mean at Y0. Just so it's balanced nicely. Then we've got it's sloping down and it accelerates at the front. Push it down a little bit. And okay, I'm happy with that. And then for the next row along, actually I'm quite happy with that as well, to be honest. So we need a bit of a crease down the middle. In fact, that looks pretty sweet already. Sweet. Right, let's choose, what shader was this one? Beige. Okay. Body, okay, let's have a look. Oh, I see, okay. So what's happened here? Actually, no. So that tucks in behind the lights, does it? Or does it? What goes on here behind those lights? So it looks like it's tucking in behind the lights, and you got a little scoop out the back there. At this point, I wonder if we just have a look at the real thing. Corvette C9. Images. Corvette C9 rear, what's it doing? Something, it doesn't do the scoop though. Oh, hold on, here we go. What have we got? Okay, so that bit should go above. Where's that rear view? Come on. So that brake is above the lights. So we've got it. Oh, so there's a little gap there as well. Okay. So I'll tell you what we could do here. Here's a little trick. So first of all, let's grab all these. Let's move them up. And as you can see, we've got a bit of a wonky line there. So what we can do is if we just borrow this, to duplicate that, put it on a different, or separate it, then select it, then extrude it. So what I want to do is I want to put a plane along there, and I'm going to project onto that plane. So I'm in side view, and so that the light's a little bit wonky as well actually, so it's going up and down, but let's just sort of do a best guess, something like this. And select all. Let's scale that in X, and then let's extrude it in X. Turn off, delete the mirror and subdivision modifier. We don't need those. So we're going to use that as our guide. So we're going to project these onto that plane. So what I like to do is I like to see what I'm doing in one view as I do it in another. So we only need those two items there. So if you isolate them, select that bottom row of vertices, isolate those, and then let's turn on face project, turn snapping on, select all, G to move, and now they're snapped and perfectly on that plane. Now let's rename that plane helper rear lights. Let's duplicate that and move it up a touch. Something like that. And now we're going to isolate those again in this view. And then this time we're going to choose this row of vertices, isolate them. Oops, we've isolated them without the plane that we need. So plane and that, isolate in this view. Select that row of vertices. Select, make sure snapping's on, move. There we go. And they're perfectly aligned now to that. Oh, luckily, oh, it's mirrored over. Okay, good. So let's move those planes onto a new collection called helpers. Thank you so much. Let's make that red, which means nothing. And make sure it doesn't render. Okay, so now, as per design, so we've got a little gap in there, and that's a straight line that goes from Y0 all the way out across the lights and into the wheel arch, which is exactly what it's doing. So we got a little, do we have a little flat there on the wheel arch? Yes, we do. Okay, so let's build that in next. So let's select, actually, this is a horrendous wheel arch, horrendous. I cannot look at it anymore. So let's fix that first. So, and the way we're going to do that is we're going to select the wheel. We're going to separate the outer edge, select it, isolate those two bits. Now we're going to put the origin, make sure we put the cursor to selected, so in the middle of that circle. And now put the origin to the 3D cursor. And now if we scale it up, we'll be able to give ourselves a guide for the wheel arch, which I think we probably want to line it up with this thing here at the bottom, and it looks like it's lined up nicely with this, so that's good. So again, let's isolate those two. Let's isolate these two. Sorry, let's isolate this edge as well. And now let's move those up, and then let's. So this is probably going to break the straight line that we just built, but that's okay. Right, so this is going to be the eyebrow. So let's offset that inboard. So we're going to go minus 0.2, something like that. And now it's actually this line that we're lining up with this, with our guide. So let's move those out. So we're going to have to be tactical about how we do this, because they have to be in certain positions in order to be able to get a nice circle. Let's increase the subdivisions to something like 4, so we get a better rate of subdivisions. And then let's move these. Oops. So that's good. That's good. Okay, let's bring in. Okay, so we've got something funny here. Can we, how far can we move these? Right, so let's create the flat there first of all. There's our flat. And then crease and sharp. Select all, make sure that the normals are good. Let's slide this up. Okay, that's good, that's good. Right, okay, so if I was to move these over, would that be catastrophic to what we're doing? I don't think so actually, because this could probably do with moving up anyway, I think. So if we select all these, right, let's move that one up a little bit. If we select all these and distribute them evenly, and we do the same thing with those ones, oops, no, not those ones, distribute these evenly. So now we're going to be able to get a much nicer circle. However, these have moved. Ah, that's okay though, I think. Right, let's try again. So if we select these, select next ones and the next ones, isolate these. Right, now let's copy the circle. So if we go into sort of X-ray mode, we can move that one up. Right, how close are we to being a circle? Do we need more geometry to make that a nicer circle? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Probably could do with one more, I reckon. So where would we put it? The front or the back? Right, so let's redistribute these, make sure that everything's flowing nicely. And we're just not getting the circle that we want here. It's just not round enough. So I think we are going to add another edge loop in here. Where should we put it? All right, let's move these down a bit. Let's move these over. And then let's break this into two. Make a big mess. Let's distribute these again and these. All right, let's have a look at this one then. Okay, let's select these. Next one's along. Okay. All right, let's create our beautiful circle now. Come on, circle. Okay, so yeah, I'm just trying to rebuild the circle basically, so it's a really nice circle. So this one's going to have to go back. Okay, so this is the best circle we've had yet. How are we looking? This one up, this one down and across maybe. So we've got these additional ones here probably aren't helping. But I think so far this is, well, the more you have, the more geometry you have, the easier it will be to get shapes that you want. But then you've got a heavier model, so it's more difficult to work with. But I think we're happy with that circle. All right, there's an alarm going off next door. So I'm just going to quickly check on it. But let me just make sure my circle is looking nice before I do that. I wouldn't want to go out there with a crappy circle. Right. Good. There we go. Oops. Right, we're happy with this. Okay, emergency averted. Right, so what we're going to do now, let's offset this circle, or let's just duplicate, scale up, and then we want the eyebrow to be maybe something like that, and then let's adjust these. Oops. Let's adjust these. So working with these, what we're trying to do is, if you imagine, the center of the circle is there, and these should be sort of pointing towards, these edges should be pointing towards the center. That's going to be your nicest flow, basically. So there we go, that's good, that's good, that's good. Right, and let's put those into our helpers collection. And then let's see how we're looking over here. So let's grab these. Okay, so we don't want any sort of inflections, which I think I just saw just there. So yeah, again, we're just looking for a really nice even distribution of vertices. Let's have a look. What's going on here? Move these up and over. So yeah, we got a little bit of bunching going on here. So what we can do is I think we're going to just distribute these evenly. And then these. And then these. And then these, you probably want these to go in a straight line, I'd say. I'm just making this up as I go along, to be honest. But I think it makes sense for them to be doing that. So we've got a nice little flow there. This looks a little bit sort of stubby there, so I think we could just raise that one up a little bit. If we just have a look at the reference, how high does the reference go? So we are higher than the reference, so let's not be higher than the reference. It looks like our flat is bigger than the reference as well. I don't mind the flat being bigger, but I don't think we want to be much higher than the reference. So what we're going to do is we're going to just drop it. So let's grab these. And scale them down in Z. That one's gone too far, so let's bring it back up. Oops. Why is it snapping to the center like that? We've got this still turned on. So yeah, be careful not to have, when you've got snapping turned on and this is turned on, this can be a real... Right, so actually let's just change that anyway so he doesn't do it again. So, okay. So we want the whole thing to be lower. So the peak is going to be this one. Is that right? Or do we want the peak further out? Let's have a look at the reference. So our peak is further out. Let's have a look at the real thing. Looks like it could be... Looks pretty nice actually. So let's leave the peak there where it is. And then let's move these ones down. And then these down. So we'll be using these two to create the peak. So yeah, the center of these two is going to be the sort of, well actually it's over a bit to this side, but it looks good. All right, let's move this one down. Let's have a look at the model. The images. Okay, so luckily it's very organic, these shapes, so you can kind of cheat a bit. So there's distinctive crease down the center, so that'll be easier. We can chuck that in later. And then we've got this crease, this sharp crease, which is that. Okay, so how is that looking compared to the reference? So, okay, good. We're now lower than the reference, which is good. But again, we've lost sort of the peak. So I think we want the peak again. So let's move these up. And then let's move these down. Okay, good. So let's see the edge flow. It's flowing nicely. Just that peak. Right, let's move these ones up a little bit and then these ones up. So actually these will be bunched a little bit, but that's to create our peak, which is a-okay. Okay, let's see how we're looking. Let's see how we're looking. I think we're looking good. That's where we were. That's where we are. So we just got to create the crease down the center. And is there anything else that we could grab from the... Put some windows in, I guess. But do we want windows? Probably not. Alright, okay. So at this point, what we're going to do... Should we add a little crease? No, there's no crease there either. Alright, so at this point... once we're happy with this amount of geometry, what we would do, let's call this bonnet, and let's duplicate that. What we would do here is, actually we can just do it here. If there's, yeah, what we're going to do is this. We're going to add a crease down the middle, just by adding an edge loop in the middle like this. Very nice. Is that too sharp maybe? No, that's fine. Okay, that's good. And actually what we can do is we can select this row of edges and put a mean bevel weight on them. And I imagine we're probably going to have some sort of issues here, but let's just try it. So if you put bevel modifier on there, put it at the top of the stack, make it about 1 and change that to weight. So yeah, you're going to have something funny going on here. So as long as you're happy with where you're going, actually this could do with a little move as well, actually, because it looks like it's... let's turn on the rest of the car. Oh, is this okay? Okay, so what we want to do is just nudge those down a touch, and then do the same thing at the back. Okay, that's good. Right, and we've still got a little bit of a mess that I need to clean up, but other than that, I think we're good to go really. Delete those, delete those. Let's take these out of here. Delete those. Let's see, there's a lot of stuff here we could delete. Let's move the wheel out of there. Let's move that back up to the top. All right, let's hide that. Now, wowzers. Okay, let's actually delete the whole side. Let's mirror this over. And this sort of air scoop we probably want to keep, but this stuff up here, let's delete. Let's delete this. And let's delete. So we're going to try and get rid of all this stuff here, but it's in different sort of groups. So again, let's delete that half, mirror this over, make sure that clipping is on. Let's see. Okay, let's select a bit of that and add to selection until we get as much of that as possible. That's good. Okay, now let's see how much of that is sticking through the back. It's in the dark though, isn't it? So, not that I condone cheating, but on this particular occasion, I'm condoning it. Well, I'm not really. On this particular occasion, I'm letting this go. However, don't cheat. That's my point. Right, okay, let's get rid of this. What else we got? What is sticking through the front, or through the back rather? Get rid of this. Let's get rid of that whole side. Let's mirror this over. Let's turn clipping on. Let's have a look. How's that looking? So is this from the front? That's still from the front. It's sticking out quite a lot through the back, which actually we don't really want. So let's grab these. Now, can we detach that from that? I think we can. So let's detach. Let's grab this stuff here and separate that. So we can hide this now. And on here, oops. Right, so what we want to do, we want to trim this in half, but we want to make sure there's two components there which are they could potentially be one. So let's select both, select all, and then let's do our bisect. Oops, select all, bisect as before, change these to 0, change this to 0, change this to 1, clear outer, and let's have a look. Let's have a look, shall we? That looks much better. There we go. What's this sticking out here? Select that, hide it. There we go. There we go. And just before we go, actually, I want to just take this opportunity to thank the contributor of this model. Actually, let's save this. Oh my gosh, I didn't save at all. Okay. Blender, Corvette C9. Oops, C9 concept. Always remember to save. Yes, I want to just take this opportunity to thank. Whether I get this. Thank. Oh, where did I get this from? Sketchfab, Corvette, C9. I'm not even going to try and pronounce that, but I just want to thank this person because it's a great model. I actually thought it was from a game, but I don't think it is after closer inspection. But either way, fantastic model. Thank you very much. Once again, thank you so much for attending. If you have any questions or comments, yeah, great. Yeah, so thanks again. See you next time.